and welcome to Shred Cels episode 46. I am your host, Alex Schmitz, and with me here today is Clara Heimberger.
Hey guys, it's been a while.
Tristan Wayne.
Hello.
Matt Luhn.
I'll never speak to you again.
And Jeremy Zajac.
Hello.
Yes, this is the first time Matt's been on a podcast all semester. He's been away for so long.
Why do you hate us, Matt? I just hate everyone.
Well, at least the truth finally comes out. Now we know why Matt likes his depressing anime so much. He just hates humanity.
Hooray.
And it's been a while since Clara, Tristan, since you two have been on as well.
I miss this place.
Who do you have on? You monster.
Well, we had Jeremy on last week.
Was it last week?
Well, before Thanksgiving break, we did the Cora podcast.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Okay. But before we dive into our main topic for this week, which is going to be the Rooster Teeth animated series RWBY, we're going to talk about a couple pieces of news that have come out recently. One of the most significant, I would say, is that Space Dandy, the new anime that's coming out from Bones and Shinichiro Watanabe, that's going to be premiering on Toonami before it airs in Japan.
Worldwide premiere.
It's coming out on January 4th is the premiere date, and they've announced some of the voice actors. Most importantly, Dandy himself is being voiced by Ian Sinclair. Damn it, I looked up some of his other roles, but I forgot.
He plays Brook in One Piece now.
That's right. He was,
and he also plays Lupin the Third in all of Funimation's Lupin the Third.
Well, it sounds like I don't really have a bone to pick with him then.
He was
Yo ho ho.
He was Dallas Genoward in Baccano. That was what I remembered. So I don't. Until I see an actual trailer, I won't really know what to think of the
Jeremy's
voice.
so
But
displeased with you.
what?
He's often
What?
displeased with me.
Not you, Alex.
Okay.
What? Brooke makes those puns on his own.
Well,
I did nothing new
It's
here.
funny when Brooke does it, not when you do.
Well,
You're just boring, Tristan.
All right.
you see, this is why everyone hates you.
It's okay. I have money.
Well, he hates everyone.
And my Lego minifigs. We can
Oh.
all smile in the corner together.
Yes, Matt has gone off the anime train, is now on Legos.
Yep, I've gone back to my roots.
Legos. Nerd.
Legos are wonderful. You shush.
Thank you, Clara.
Claire builds all her ships
I'm
with
being,
Legos.
I'm being
No,
facetious here.
only the pirate ships.
Okay. Fair enough.
Do you
I
ship
never
the
actually-
pirate ships with spaceships?
No. I
Continuing
don't.
on,
All right.
You
I
and
have a
nothing to talk
boner for
about.
seeing Space Dandy.
Well, good. I don't
Not
know.
really,
I'm not.
but whatever.
I'm excited for it. I don't think it's going to be great, but I hope it does
pish
well.
posh. You like everything.
I like everything, do I?
All I really have to say about it is, hey, Mr. Dandy. Hey, Mr. Joy.
Yes, that's from Bubblegum Crisis,
Yes.
correct? I do kind of hope that's there. It would make me happy.
I will be very happy.
Another interesting piece of news, the guy who directed both Fate Zero and the film series Karno Kokai, big guy who works with Studio Ufotable, or Ufotable, sorry. I don't know how
UFO
it's-
table.
I don't know how that damn thing is pronounced. It's so weird. But he's formed his own studio called Troika, Troyca, that's apparently going to be producing something next year. And they had looking for animators and CGI people and stuff like that. So another independent studio being formed. We've seen stuff like Studio Wit and Studio Trigger being formed in recent, this year. Wasn't Trigger and Wit both this year as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like we've had a lot of these new indie studios, which I think is kind of cool.
Indie studios.
Yep. And then you can talk about this more than me, Matt, because I don't really know. But apparently Ava 3.0 is getting dubbed by Funimation, being put in theaters this January.
It's already been dubbed and premiered at Comic-Con.
Oh.
No, not Comic-Con. The New York Comic, what is that?
New York Comic Con?
It is Comic-Con, yeah.
Okay. So, but it's coming to theaters in Columbus and stuff like that, right?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, and speaking of theaters, in Columbus, we're actually going to Cleveland this Sunday, a group of us, to see the new Madoka Magica film.
4 hours.
Yes, it's gonna be but it's gonna be a fun drive. We can listen to music, we can talk, it's gonna
And be bored.
fun.
I
And
get
get flat
shotgun.
tires
Kenning's
and
always
miss
said I
the
get
movie.
shotgun.
And then
and
by
hate
the
life.
time you get back, you
I get
will be
shotgun on the
sick
way
of each
back
other.
then.
No, I always get shotgun.
Oh, fine. Well, and his card's chewy. Remember that.
I know.
Alex,
I will.
I'm just going to say this right now. I'm pretty sure you can take her. You've got at least a foot and a half on her.
I'm not gonna fight Clara.
Then that's why you don't. Then that's why you don't get shotgun.
All right, because I'm a kind gentleman.
Let
No,
me
it's
know while
because you're a
there.
sucker.
Let me know while you're there if they do that thing that they did in Japan. where they do that thing if they did in Japan where Mammy's neck and body are on the breaking point of the ticket.
They really do that.
They really did that in Japan for one of the
hurts.
movies.
That's
That
kinda
hurts a
great.
lot. Oh God.
So it's my face when I have no face.
All right.
Continuing on.
So now we'll get on to the animation we've watched since last time. I guess for Clara and Matt, Tristan, you guys haven't been on a while, so just anything you've been watching recently. As for myself, I've watched a few things. Actually, over the break, I showed my sisters the first season of Clannad, and they actually really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to showing them After Story over the break and just making them shed all the manly tears.
All the manly tears. I got Mr. Schmitz to watch Clannad.
You did. It is in my top 5 now.
Good,
it's your
good.
fault.
It should be.
I also watched the Steins Gate movie, Fuka Ryoki no Deja Vu, however the hell you pronounce that. The sub I was watching was kind of bad, but
Then don't watch it.
well, but I still could understand what was going on, and
I would
it was
just wait for the
really good.
dub, really.
Thank you, Tristan.
Well,
Common logic.
but see, on December 13th, the Blu-ray comes out in Japan with actual official English subs. So then I'm going to rewatch it when those come online because then I'll be able to read a good subtitled
You're
version.
too eager. Patience, Padawan.
I don't have patience to wait for the dub. That could take
Subtitles.
a year or more even.
It'll be worth it.
I will
greater
watch
than
the
dubs.
dub when it comes out because I like the dub better than the sub, but I don't want to wait that long when I know I can watch it on the internet. I can't. You just must be more patient than me because I can't resist the
Well,
temptation.
no, I just like the dub that much more.
I guess. I started a few anime like Penguin Drum, Working, been keeping up with the stuff. I've usually been watching, a new episode of Kill la Kill today, Samurai Flamenco. All those are actually doing pretty well. Some of them are getting close to finishing up now. We're at the episode 10 point, so we're getting pretty close to the ending of some of those. So that's what I've been watching. Clara, how about you?
I watched, went to the apartment and we watched Ami and Yuki, the Wolf Children.
Oh, that's right. You were pretty sad at the end of that.
I had too many emotions at the time. I still have yet to sort them out. It hurts.
I've got an emotion. Her kids were worthless little brats.
Aw,
Not one thank you.
Don't spoil it.
That's what hurt,
Don't
is that
know it.
no one actually said thank you. But
I haven't seen it because of you, Matt.
I didn't spoil anything. All I said is her kids are brats.
Oh, I like that. Bratty children. It's a
it
good
they're
hurt.
sweet though.
Bratty children or dead children?
I rewatched the last couple episodes of RWBY today. I had already seen them, but I just wanted to refresh my mind, and which I still love RWBY, but I haven't been watching a whole lot because of work, and I have no life outside of school.
Well, I think we've all been there at certain points.
It's
So,
finals week. It's getting worse.
but one more week and it's over.
One
Then
more
winter
week,
break.
then winter
You can
break.
do this. You can do this.
Okay.
Then the cycle repeats.
The
future
circle
refused
of
to
life.
I have been
change.
watching Babylon 5 a lot, but that's not an anime, so.
That's not anime.
It
How
should
dare
be.
you
That
mention
hardly
something
counts
not
as
anime?
sci-fi.
All right. How about you, Tristan?
Well, I guess if anything in J-Con counts, I watched the entirety of Macross Frontier, the first half of Blood Plus, and what else was there?
You poor bastard.
Blood Plus was funny. It was funny.
Bad funny or good funny?
I
The
can
dub
see,
has not aged well on that.
I can see when you're younger and first getting into anime why you'd be into it, but
that dub has seriously it's just not.
Yeah.
It's when you have wine, it didn't turn into wine.
It turned into vinegar.
Yes. You're just
Macross Frontier was a riot. Very beautiful animations, but for some reason there seems to be mechas in this anime about idols and love triangles. Strange.
Odd.
Aside from that, I marathoned RWBY today, so I could be here.
That's
'Cause I was-
right, because you hadn't seen any of the show before.
Well, I saw
coming here.
I saw the trailers and I had a genuine interest. The reason I hadn't watched the show was that I expected it to be longer, but then Matt Scotty over here basically told me it's a 2-hour sit down, so I was like,
Yeah.
nope, I
Well,
can.
Fun fact, actually,
I can
if
hammer
you
that.
want to buy RWBY on iTunes, it's not in 16 episodes. It's one 2-hour-long movie, basically. So they just sort of edit it all together, which is what they do for Red versus Blue as well. They'll just cut all their episodes together, sort of into one big thing.
Besides that, I've been watching Bakemonogatari Season 2 with friends, which is getting to the end, I believe.
Is that a current running one?
Well, yeah, it's current running. They're at the last arc that they're going to do for this part.
Okay.
So,
Cool. Matt, what have you been watching?
I try watching things and then I
Then
don't finish
fail.
them. No, I've been watching Bubblegum Crisis with Tristan, The Eccentric Family, which is by the same director as the Tatami Galaxy.
How is that going?
I'm enjoying it. I don't think it's nearly as good as like the character building isn't as interesting or neat as Tatami, but it's still really good, and I'm still enjoying that. And well,
You
meow.
sound really decisive here.
I just not a whole lot of anime. So,
Well, you've been watching Kill la Kill.
oh yes, Kill la Kill weekly. That's
I see
been
that all
enjoyable.
over Tumblr, and I'm still debating actually watching it.
I like it.
Yeah.
I would suggest it. Just don't watch it with anyone that you don't know very well in the room. And
Who's
that
not used to anime?
Oh, okay.
also don't
So like
watch
treat
it
it
with
like
your
High
parents.
School to Dead.
Yeah, you have to
Yeah.
treat it like that.
Okay. I knew that.
Except maybe not as creepy.
Okay.
It's not as creepy, but the fact that her dress is very
I've seen it, yeah.
It's funny because she's not even the most fetishy character.
Nope,
Yeah, you
nope.
talk about Gamagori.
I am my favorite character.
which is a dude
Okay.
who's manly.
Oh, so
I think I've seen him, the guy with the silver hair.
No, he's the huge. Or does he have
He's the
silver hair?
giant guy straight out of Fist of the North Star.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Oh,
He's the
I don't know.
disciplinary
The
chairman.
one where every time he talks, his voice is super deep, and there's almost always a zoom in on him while his eyes are just doing the crazy freak out thing.
Yeah, he's got some crazy whips.
I don't think I've seen him yet then.
Okay.
Yeah, he's
He's the
like-
best character in the show.
Okay.
All right. And Jeremy, what have you been watching?
Honestly, I haven't really been watching anything. I've been really busy.
Right.
And
well,
you've been watching Kill la Kill.
Oh, Kill la Kill, yeah.
That counts.
have you?
And even in defeat, Gamagori is still the best character in the show.
Yeah. Are you guys still watching Akagi?
Oh yeah, we are. We did watch that. We just
Yeah.
kind of.
It just takes. We both have to have time to sit down and watch it. Is the only thing.
I'm tempted to move on. I want to watch it. I want to
just watch through the whole thing without
I-
me.
No, but
Leave Jeremy behind in the dust.
No, all
Wait,
we
wait,
are
wait.
is dust in the wind.
we'll find more time to
So
watch it
dark
next
and
semester. But I
small.
want to. It's only 26 episodes, and we're on episode 10.
Yeah, I know. All we have to do is just like find a day where neither of us have anything to do and just sit down.
And watch it.
Yeah.
But it's not a show you want to marathon. I don't think.
No, this is something like you could watch maybe. I would say maybe 5 episodes at the most. And
Yeah,
then-
at the most.
and it's like I need to absorb this now.
Absorb.
That's how I felt about this one anime I watched called Ghost Hound. Like, it was really slow in the beginning, but then as it picked up, it got really interesting, and I wanted to keep watching it. And then, like, my on-demand stopped working for, like, 2 months, so I lost, like, all of my shows, and I had to just find them online, and it was sad. But it was really, like, because you weren't exactly sure what the plot was in the beginning, and it just was so very slow. Like, you knew there's a kid suffering from PTSD. There was the punk kid, and then, like, the happy-go-lucky, like, cool, chill guy. And they were all thrown together because of this kid's PTSD, and then ghost things happened.
Well, I rewatched Angel Beats on the ride back up to over Thanksgiving break because it's like an 8-hour drive from here to Traverse City. And upon rewatching it, like one of the things that's the biggest problem with the show is its pacing and how like it changes on a dime as far as like what the story's doing. But it's also something I actually quite like about it because what you think it's going to be in episode 1 is not at all what it is by episode 13. And
No
like
way.
I do like how it does change a lot, you know, and surprises you with like the different directions it's going in. It's just that it feels rushed at times. So I don't know. That's the interesting thing about Angel Beats. So now we're going to move on to the main topic for this week, which is the show RWBY, a 2013 independent animation by Rooster Teeth, most famous for their machinima show Red vs. Blue and Achievement Hunter on YouTube. So this is sort of like, I'm not going to say it's the first of its kind, but there isn't much else like this on the internet. It seems like a web series trying to be like this dramatic, animated, you know, fantasy adventure show. I don't know. I think they're commendable for, you know, trying something like this. Before we get into the talk about the main show, we might as well talk about the trailers, these 4 trailers that preceded the actual show. I think the first trailer came out like November of last year at the end of Red vs. Blue season 10. Like you watched the last episode, the credits played, and then there was this trailer for this random thing called RWBY. And I remember watching it, not having any idea what it was about, but think it was really, really awesome. just with the music that was playing in that one, and then Ruby doing her crazy
The music is
action and
gorgeous.
the scythe gun. I thought all that stuff was really badass.
This entire thing is improbable weapon porn.
Of
And
course
that's
it
kind
is.
of what it is. I mean, except it's gun this, gun that. That's a gun, isn't it?
This is a
Jeremy?
nunchuck that's also a gun, that's also a staff, and this is a shuriken that's also a gun, that's also a whip.
It's funny. They actually recently came out with a shirt that just has a picture of like a bunch of the weapons, and in the middle just says it's also a gun.
But
So
as
they are well aware of
How
the
silly
joke. Oh no, I mean, Ruby knows it's silly. Like it's completely ridiculous with the weapons, but that's what makes it fun. Monty Ohm. He did the video Haloid like in the mid 2000s, and that was just like a crazy, ridiculous action sequence with Samus and Master Chief. That's sort of like what made him famous on the internet, I think. Monty Ohm, who is the animation guy at Rooster Teeth, who did like the animations for Red vs. Blue, the later season of RWBY, and now is the director for RWBY. This is sort of his brainchild. But what did you guys think? I guess, what was your favorite of the trailers? Because personally, for me, I really liked Ruby's trailer, and I really liked Yang's trailer.
Yang.
Those were my two favorites.
I love Yang so much. She's so cute.
It's a shame she didn't really get touched upon in this series.
Yeah, that's...
I mean, she has everything together. She doesn't have a whole lot of inner conflict, and
Well, I feel like they could go into it, because, like, Ruby's... it's very heavily implied that Ruby's mom is dead. That means Yang's mom is dead. I want to know what's going on there. They might
I
have
kinda
some
doubt they're
issues.
even
My
related.
parents are dead.
the fact that they don't
but they
share
are
last
sisters.
names. They
They
don't
say
share
they're
last names.
Well,
That's true.
It could easily be a case where you just treat each other as sisters. You have that closeness.
Possibly.
It is weird because Ruby's name is Ruby Rose, whereas her name is Yang Xiao Long, so not very similar.
Yeah, not at all, and they look nothing alike.
Yeah, so you might be
So-
right on that.
So, Clara's, your favorite was Yang. What about you,
Yang.
Tristan?
Yeah, probably gonna have to go with Yang. That
Whoop,
bullet
whoop.
gauntlet was awesome,
Yeah,
and just how the Fight Club changed.
yeah.
I'm sorry, it wasn't a Fight Club, but they
with
turned it
not
into
Dead
one.
Mouse.
Yeah,
Not
That's
Dead
right.
Mouse, the bear thing.
I know. I liked the Ruby one just for the music and the gloriousness of the animation. By the time they got to the yellow ones, they were actually doing dialogue, so it was actually a little bit more story. And I also just like Yang's weapon a lot, and her going like Super Saiyan with her fiery hair was pretty awesome.
If you touch
Yeah,
her
I like
hair,
her
she
weapon
goes
the
red.
most. I'm going to say I'm personally a fan of White, whatever her name is.
Weiss.
Weiss.
So you-
Schnee Weiss.
So you liked her,
Why Schnee,
her,
excuse me.
her trailer where she was singing?
They
Yep,
pronounced it
I like that
Schnee.
one the most. I mean, I like the first two the best. No offense to the people who like over there, but
No, not
the
taken.
earlier
No, okay.
dialogue, when they were first doing the test dubbing of it, it was a huge
I didn't really have a problem with Yang's. Blake's trailer, the black one, that
Yes.
had some rough voice acting for sure.
that had
Oh,
some
yeah.
awful voice acting.
Yeah, the fight in that was still pretty cool. Blake's weapon of all four of them is the one I understand the least because it's like a katana, but also a gun, but also like this thing on a rope.
Don't question it, Alex.
I know.
It's a gun.
It's
All
like,
you need to know is it's also a gun.
In the script- In the script, it's just they picked up their gun, and I have a gun. Do you have guns? I like guns. Gun, 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 gun.
My sheath is a gun.
That's right. That's sort of what it was for her.
Yeah.
Jeremy, what was your favorite of the trailers?
Honestly, I never actually watched any of the trailers.
Oh, really? So you just started watching RWBY when you heard about it as it was a web series
Yeah.
before those trailers.
Yeah, it's like, you know what? I'll just see this. Let's see what it is. So yeah, that's about all it
And
was.
then this was the day we waited for.
See, I really like the
I do
opening.
too.
I do not care for the vocals. It's a decent beat, but the problem is that
It's generic.
Yeah, yeah, it's super generic.
Yeah, I can't
It's
argue with that.
super
I would have to
generic.
say this about all the songs. Even in the trailer, the lyrics isn't what drew me to them.
You
Yeah.
actually listen to it. They're actually really sad. Like
Well,
the entire song.
The Red Like
That's-
Roses
Red
That's
Like
one.
not
Roses.
that's not necessarily a good thing though.
I know, but
There's-
you
it's
don't
just-
pay attention to it, and then it's like, oh.
Yeah, it's the problem was the whole time when I really started listening to the lyrics, all I could hear in the back of my head was crawling in my skin.
Well, I think it sort of reminds me like when you actually look at the lyrics for like most anime openings, they're like these really cliche, cheesy sounding things about like love and friendship or whatever.
But
love
it's
and
Japanese, so you
friendship.
don't know. You just go, oh, that sounds great.
Exactly. That's the thing. So I don't know. I like the songs a lot. And it's one of those things where I like halfway process the lyrics, but I'm not really paying attention to them. I'm just more getting caught up in the music.
See, personally, I missed it. I missed the good old days where the theme songs were either completely instrumental or they just gave you the entire premise of the show. like Megas XLR, the theme song literally tells you what the show is about. It's about a
Giant
about a fat
robot
guy, about a
cars.
fat guy who lives in Jersey who fights giant robots.
Or like
Exactly.
or TMNT, where they just repeat the name of the show over and over
What
again.
about Samurai
That's only
Jack,
what it's
which also
about.
does the same thing?
Hey, that tells you everything you need to know about the show.
Yep.
They're
Samurai
Teenage
Jack,
Mutant
get
Ninja
back to the
Turtles.
best.
That's all you need to know.
But I'm not sure what else you need. It's pretty explanatory about what the whole situation is.
That's true. Something I found was interesting, actually. I was surprised hearing this. The guy who does the music is a guy named Jeff Williams. He's also done the music in like the later seasons of Actually, he might have done all of RWBY. I don't know, but he's done the music, and even like the songs are obviously good, and the orchestral music is actually pretty good too. When it's there. But what's interesting is that his daughter, Casey Lee Williams, is the person who does all the music, and apparently she's only 15 years old. So the fact that she can sing that good at 15 is pretty impressive. I'll give her props for that.
So jealous.
So yeah, did you guys want to sort of just dive into like the arcs of the show? I sort of broke it down into 5 different arcs, looking at like how the episodes broke down, or just more get into the characters and sort of talk about the plot through them.
We should probably just talk about it through the characters.
Okay, fair enough. Well, we might as well start with the namesake of the show, Ruby Rose. Our main character.
Little Red Riding
Main character.
Yeah,
You don't see it, but I'm doing air quotes.
yeah. Well, she's the protagonist. They're all sort of the main characters, I guess.
I didn't really get any main character out of this, to be honest.
It's very well mixed, like with, the characters. Obviously, Ruby's going to be in every episode. You're going to have Weiss. You're going to have Yang.
Well,
and-
actually, Ruby isn't in every episode. Like those ones that focus on John, she barely appeared.
Oh, that is true.
So we're
guess-
That's the John arc.
Well, yeah.
Everyone likes the John arc because John is awesome.
I do like John.
Because John is easily the deepest character in the show.
Can we rename the
Easily.
show to John? I want to have a show about
I
John.
like the little pun they got, John Arc.
Yeah, well, I mean, all of them
Jean
are
of
going
Arc.
off some sort of fairy tale thing.
Well, I don't know. They're called Grim Beasts.
Right.
I'm pretty sure with 2 M's there.
Yeah. Well, like something I didn't realize, but, you've got Weiss, who's obviously supposed to be sort of like
It's Snow White.
Snow White. Apparently her name translated to German it
Is
means
Snow White.
Well,
White
actually-
Snow.
well,
It's,
yeah, White Snow.
that's
exactly
what I
it
said.
means.
I told you that a while ago because I didn't catch her last. I know Vice was white, but then I heard what her last name was, and I just looked at you. It's like I just went, God damn it, Alex, she's Snow White.
Yeah.
They pronounce her name in the show as Schnee, and every time I hear that, I only think of 2 things.
Mr. Schnee.
That are the Thneed. The Schneed. The Schnee is the thing that everyone needs.
Nice.
The wonderful, beautiful.
It can be a
truculent
tsundere.
voice.
It can be selfish.
Let's move on.
Okay, moving on. But I don't know. I actually like Ruby a lot just because she starts off as like the, sort of this klutzy. She's got like this nice mix of klutzy cuteness, but then also she can be a badass when she wants to be.
My favorite one is when they're fighting the giant bird thing.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I got chills.
By far, my favorite episode of the show was episode 8, that one where they're fighting the scorpion and the bird. That was the best action
John
of the
did
whole
a
show.
thing. I was so proud of him.
Yeah. Well, John really got to do his thing in his arc when he beheaded that bear thing. That was
yeah,
awesome.
but this was when John first did a thing.
That's true. It was his first thing. Mm-hmm. Okay.
The
It was
first
like,
thing
oh,
that was
baby,
sang.
you did a thing.
Yeah.
You deflected. You gave orders. Look at you.
Look at you.
You're
And
doing
his weapon is
things.
the only one that is not also a gun.
Yeah, actually,
Yeah.
it is.
let me put it this way. Jean is my favorite character for a lot of reasons, and the first one is being he doesn't rely on some silly gimmicky weapon. You know what his gimmick is? He could shrink down his sword. Do you know why that's not all that effective? Sure, it saves space, but it still weighs as much because it's still a sword.
Right.
Shield.
Well, yeah.
That was a funny
the
moment.
shield strengths, and he even makes a joke about it. Like, Ruby's like, it still weighs the same, doesn't it? He's like, yeah. He's kind of like depressed about it.
He's a cute pie.
I know. Well, something interesting. The writers of the show are like Monty Ohm has a writing credit, but I think the 2 main writers are Carrie Shawcross and Miles. I don't know his last name, but they're 2 people who work at Rooster Teeth.
Miles
And-
Tailsprower.
No.
No, not him. Miles actually does the voice for Jean, and I was like you, Clara. I rewatched like the second half of the show just before coming to this podcast, and I was rewatching that episode where he's talking with what's her name? Pira,
Pira? Yeah, Pira.
yeah, about like how he faked his papers, and he's not really supposed to be at Beacon.
I feel like they
And-
would have caught him, but they're letting him be there.
No, I think they did catch. No, I'm pretty sure that the dean caught him. And he's like, no, let's watch this. This should be interesting.
No, he
They
wasn't.
know that he's got potential.
He wasn't caught though.
I don't know that look he had on his face though when they even said how did like when
They launched
Goodwitch
him up.
when Goodwitch was talking and she said I'm not sure how he's here. There was a look on his face where it was like, yeah, nah, he shouldn't be here, but this should be funny.
You might be right there. Yeah, they haven't come out and directly stated it, but
Like, I
If
swear,
it turns to something
was it-
good,
Was
cool.
it Pyrrha at one point who said he's got like the most potential out of everyone, or was that actually
well,
the headmaster?
when she like activated his aura and she said something like, "You have a lot of it,"
Yeah,
so I
that's
think
what it
that's
was.
going to be a factor.
It's
later
definitely going
on.
to come back, and the fact that he is so pathetic compared to everyone else is definitely going to change.
Oh yeah,
He's not pathetic, not at all. He's just dealing with people
He's-
who all have anime powers.
That's true, which
Pretty
makes
much.
you slightly less.
yeah. Well, I
like,
think
yeah,
I don't
I'd be pretty competent if I wasn't dealing with people who have magical powers that I don't.
I think that's why a lot of people like John because he's pretty much the everyman right now in the show. And he has the most, like you said, Claire, he has the most potential for growth because I feel like he's already shown some leadership qualities, that he already has. And I think he's going to show off increased physical powers as well as he sort of masters his aura. But what I was going to say about
Oh, I can shoot lasers.
No, nothing about that. No, I'm just imagining by the end of the series, he literally just hulks out.
Hulk smash.
Strong smash.
But in that scene where he was talking with Pyrrha about like how he faked the papers and stuff, I was actually like, some of the voice acting in the show is really good, some of it's sort of bad, but I actually really like Miles' voice. Like he was actually like, his voice was getting a little, I don't know what you would call it, like shaky, yeah, as he was talking about like this more emotional thing. I was like, okay, you're doing a good job, and you're like one of the writers. You're not even like a real actor. So I'm really happy with his portrayal of John in this.
Pyrrha's one of my
show.
favorite characters. She's like, yeah, I'm a relatively good person. I'm here to help you. And then he pushes her away. She's like, okay, fine.
Yeah, well, I was a little mad at John, honestly, near the beginning because he kept on going after Weiss, and Pyrrha was being so nice to him, and it was obvious from the beginning she kind of liked him, but he was just sort of ignoring her at first.
I didn't really even see that as going after anything. I saw that as an attempt to make friends and be the chivalrous guy,
He was trying to be nice to the ladies.
He was trying to be nice.
And Weiss is like,
Nice.
no, I am Snoot.
Yeah.
I am Schnee.
Weiss, I came to like her more as the series went on, but I still like her probably least of like the four mains.
She had the same thing that Bei Fong did for me and Cora. And first I'm like, you're the worst. And then it's like, you're actually kind of cool.
See, but Bei Fong became like really cool by
Right,
the
and-
end.
But the whole thing that
Weiss hasn't had
has
that
now
moment
put
yet.
aside her whole bias towards the faunus to be friends with Blake. So that makes me really happy. Like, she's actually, like...
Character development.
Yeah,
No,
character development.
She has grown. She's still kind of snooty.
Well, that's her personality, though. She is the little rich girl who has been trying to, like, fight for attention her whole life because it's obvious her parents are gigantic bazillionaires who probably do not have time for her. She's said that, like, oh, I'm trying to actually be someone.
I don't know. In the early episodes, I didn't see much development because even after the supposed development occurred, she changed very little. She was still that.
Change is slow. People don't change overnight.
I know they don't change overnight, but if there's only 16 episodes in one arc, then I expect a little more of an obvious
Well,
change.
I think that's one of the unfortunate things about it being only 16 episodes. They don't have a lot of time to do, a lot of character
And if she
development.
completely
You want to
changed
talk about
into,
not
like,
having a lot of time?
Oh, Bass of the Blue.
I know change doesn't happen overnight, but I'd like to notice something. She seems like the same.
She's still very uppity and very just proud, but at the same time she's able to put away her pride.
Wasn't she singing
for-
in a concert in the trailer?
Yeah, in the trailer.
Yeah.
she
Yeah,
was.
where'd that come from?
Well, all of the things in the trailer, it's sort of questionable
It's
where they
prequel
take
stuff.
place because, like in that thing with RWBY,
Well,
she's fighting a
with-
ton of demon wolf things, and she's not nearly that competent yet. You
Well,
know?
with Ruby and Weiss, that one's a little more ephemeral and mysterious.
They were
and
also the
stuff like
first
that.
ones. They were showing off look
Yeah.
at these ladies
actually
doing
wanted
really
to-
cool things, guys.
I actually wanted to ask, was this intended to be a series, or was it just a
Oh no, it was
short
always intended to be a
at first?
series. Apparently, Monty Ohm was talking with Bernie Burns, who's like one of the head guys at Rooster Teeth, around the time RVB season 10 was finishing up because he was doing the animation for that. And Bernie said, yeah, if you finish up RVB season 10, you can do whatever you want. If you have a project you want to do. And apparently this had been in the back burner on his mind for a while. So they started getting to it around the time RVB was getting done. So it was
Well,
it was
the
always
whole thing-
intended to be a web series.
With the new the newest episode 16, with the whole Blake saying she left the White Fang, was it?
Yeah, White Fang.
I'm pretty sure that's exactly what happened in her trailer.
Yeah, when she
When she's
separates
like,
the train
"Okay,
car.
bye," and then she leaves.
I did notice something when Weiss was talking about like how the White Fang had done all these things for her family. She mentioned they stole a whole train car of dust, and it was like, well, she was on a train there. I wonder if that was connected in any way.
I mean, it might have been, or they might have been like, oh, that could be connected later on. But because it didn't show dust, it showed fighting robot things. It's still trying to show off the girls' combat skills.
Yeah, I do wonder. I bet you that remember because she was with some guy in that train
Right.
sequence, and she like cut the train and was like goodbye, and they drifted apart. So I wonder if he's gonna show up later on.
Oh, I expect him to. I actually thought he was going to be like the guy with the cigar, and I was like, you. But it wasn't.
Actually, the guy with the cigar was in
Who's in
Yellow's
Yeah,
trailer
yeah,
in the background. It's a blink and you miss it, but he's there.
Yeah, I know. I saw him.
Yeah, he was. I will say, when I was looking at like the arcs and everything, of all the characters, I think RWBY and Weiss get the most screen time because all that like that forest sequence, it's them working together as partners. And then after that, you have this whole thing where like RWBY or Weiss doesn't accept RWBY as the leader, and sort of they come to terms with that. And then later on in the Blake arc, Weiss comes to terms with Blake and the Faunus thing and the White Fang and all that. She has actually gotten a lot of screen time. I sort of agree with you, Tristan. For as much as I like Yang, and she is one of my favorite characters, I do feel it's sort of sad that she hasn't really gotten an arc as of yet.
Well, as
She's
much
confident.
I do like the John arc, but I would prefer if they had touched their main characters first before moving to their second set of main characters.
The thing is, though, the second set of main characters, as far as I can tell, are a more interesting group of characters because
oh my God,
if
Nora.
nothing,
Oh my God, I love her.
if nothing else, there's a hell of a lot more personality there. Let's be completely honest. There's with the main group of characters, there's two characters that have almost essentially the same personality.
Well, I will say of Juniper, John is really interesting and Nora is really interesting. Pyrrha is really nice, but
We don't know that much about her, though.
She's very smart as well.
Right, but we don't know that much about her.
And
And
Len, we don't know, except for he's just this guy
He's the
that
straight
Nora
man.
has
He's pretty much
attached
Nora's
herself
foil.
to.
yeah.
And so
And you know what? That's fine because in a group of three effectively crazies, you do need the one straight man.
Oh yeah, he's probably the one that just is like,
I know.
guys, no, please,
I
can
wanna-
we just do the thing?
I want to call Pyrrha crazy. She's pretty level-headed most of the time.
But she's also looking
comparatively-
after John.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. What I find interesting about her is that like she's really nice, but apparently she's one of the strongest like at the academy because like Weiss wanted to partner with her because she like won some tournament in the past or something like that.
She's a serial mascot.
It's not very
That's
healthy
right.
for
I
you.
forgot about that. Yeah, that's one thing I will say. After watching the trailers, I was sort of thinking like this was going to be like an action show, because all the trailers were showing off this awesome action. And then I watched the first episode and it had some awesome action in it, but then it also was like, okay, we got this magical school thing going on, and the show really focuses more on the characters and like these comedy things.
Headmaster is so attractive.
Sorry, what?
The headmaster's really attractive.
You think
Just putting
so?
that out
well,
there.
what
His
he's
gray
not
hair.
clipping anyway.
I don't know. I didn't know the headmaster clipping a lot. I will agree the headmistress, the girl, she does clip.
Good witch.
Yeah.
Oh my God, there is everything. I don't think I've seen a single scene with her so far where she isn't just clipping through like 30% of the scenery.
I don't know if you've noticed, but if you look at her hair, like it's different from how the hair is done with the other characters, and it makes me to believe that she was one of the first character rigs built. Therefore,
Actually,
she's gonna have.
Either the first or the last, because you consider that the other characters have essentially already gone through trailers. So she could have been the one on the back burner the most, and they threw it together fairly
I
quickly.
mean, it's Good Witch though. I'm talking about the whole show in general. She's one of the first one of the earlier characters you see. I guess my point is, if you look at a lot of the characters you meet in the first episode, minus your main characters, they do have a little bit of a. Their animation's a little janky, like Hat Guy,
Yeah. I will say over the course of this show, like the 16 episodes we have so far, which is apparently volume 1, which is half of season 1. That seems to be how they're breaking it up. The voice acting, I think, definitely improved over time. Like I got more used to like RWBY's voice.
The whole
and
show, I think, improved as it went on. Like, no offense to the earlier episode. Like, I liked the first episode where it's like where she was fighting the guy in the dust. But my major problem that I would say is then it's like, oh, you're going to this school.
Going to Hogwarts.
You're-
Yeah.
To
Actually,
me, it felt
the parallel
very
I drew
Soul
was
Eater.
Wings Club.
And don't get me wrong, I love Soul Eater. Don't get me I enjoy that, but at the same time, I'm like, what? I've seen school before. I
Magical
love my
Girl
Orange
School.
Host Club. I love these, but
I think the point was though is that she is going there prematurely, and we're supposed to focus on her development there, being years
That's a
younger
good
than
point.
everyone else.
I
the
do
fact
kind
that
of
she's even there.
I do kind of find the school plot to be, well, the setting, I got used to it later, but initially the school setting felt was a step down from what the trailers were
and
showing.
even with that said, like what I like what the show doing now is it's breaking out. Like in the most recent episodes, it was at this, the whole cargo bay area, or then like, oh look, more dust shops are being stolen from. The fact that it's like, oh look, there's more to than just the academy, and I really like that. And in fact, if you think of all the major fight scenes, they've not happened at the academy. They've happened outside of it. I feel like the academy is just a nice little social construct of, we really needed to find a setting to put these characters in. Oh, let's put them here. This school's where you can show character growth.
Yeah. Well, that's like what they did in Soul Eater too. Like they came to the school to do character, like the slower episodes, they're more focused on character or plot were there. And then they go out on like these missions usually. And that's where like the action happened. You know? And RWBY hasn't done that too much. I do sort of think, because they have said, I've seen some like interviews with the writers, and they've said like they're barely scratching the surface with these first 16 episodes. Like they've got a lot of stuff they want to tell. They have this big imagined world and stuff. So I feel like we're gonna see them like go through their time at this school, maybe graduate, and then they like go off and be hunters and huntresses, whatever that entails.
And I think that'd be a lot more interesting than sticking around in the school setting. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's doing all right. Although Coffee Guy and
Mr. Mustache.
You want to talk about his weapon, Jeremy?
Okay, just looking every other weapon in the show.
We should
hasn't
classify
bothered me.
this as Mr. Mustache Guy, who also who always mostly has his hands behind his back.
Clearly, I'm going to say this right now. The healthcare that they offer as an employment. The healthcare they offer for employment at the school is awful because his crippling arthritis is just absolutely atrocious, and it would not be accepted anywhere. But anyway, his weapon is the only one that bothers me in the entire show. It doesn't really show up that often, so it's not a big deal. But I pointed this out when I looked at it. It's like, hold on a second, it's a battle axe. Anyway, it's a battle axe. And it's also a blunderbuss or a rifle or something like that.
A boomstick.
Yes, exactly. The problem is that the trigger for it is right underneath the blade. You have to grip the blade.
well, maybe
The sharp cutting edge of the axe has to be gripped.
You're supposed to be emo with it and cut
but
yourself.
if it's like the-
That either makes them really stupid or really badass.
If it's the
Your mileage may vary.
If it's the underside of the blade, though, that doesn't have to be sharp. What if it's just dull so we can grab it?
It's still a
the
really
blade.
poor design.
Maybe.
It really
blade,
is.
Alex.
Okay, Alex, this is what has to happen. You're holding it like this. You have to flip it like this. You have to turn the blades towards yourself to fire the weapon.
Okay, I barely even remember it, so I'll have to go back and rewatch
But yeah,
it to see what
it's
you're
not a
talking
big
about.
deal.
It's like he has it hung in his classroom, and then he uses it to cut the thing open. They probably just wanted to use this ridiculous thing at least at some point, because there was really no reason for him to cut the lock open.
And it's fine. It's fine. It's the only thing that's honestly bothered me so far. I like to imagine that my suspension of disbelief is pretty good for the most part. It only bothered me a little bit because I was trying to sit there and think about how does that even work?
Especially when he's got arthritis and his hands are always clawed.
That's why he has horrible
Well,
arthritis.
apparently-
He had to move his hands in such unnatural ways to use the weapon.
Apparently, Mr. Mustache was important enough to be featured into credits, though.
Yeah.
Well, even the coffee guy. One thing like I did like about the show, in each ending credit, it would show a character, even if they were really minor, whether it be crazy coffee professor whose animation again is also very lazy because let's just drag him here and there.
Yeah.
I know what they were
I'm
trying
here.
to
Now
go
I'm
with.
here. I'm here.
The
I'm
problem
basically
is, though,
Roadrunner.
since they showed absolutely no motion when he's moving around, it turns out being lazy.
I'll
If he
let-
had leaned, if he had moved his legs,
Yeah, if
something.
he had done like a weeble wobble. Because
I will admit, because I was just rewatched the episode where it was wide and like you saw his whole body just sliding, it looked pretty weird. But then when it was on like a medium shot where you just saw him waist up, it looked fine.
The thing is though, even when they were showing it from the class perspective, like you could still see his legs, and when they weren't even moving, it's just he literally is just straight up just sliding around like it's an ice rink and he's being pushed around.
He's magic.
He has a lot of lag.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
That is unfortunately my biggest complaint so far with the show's animation is that they've really got to work on their walk cycles. Not their walk cycles even, just when they show them actually moving. Half the time it's just fine, and then the other half of the time it's not even half the time. It's like a quarter of the time.
It looks like they're animating. It looks like they're dragging a GIF across the
dragging
background.
gifts.
It turns it's the Wukong scene all over again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say, like, overall, I sort of see it as a thing where I almost think of it like a shonen anime where, like, you know, you watch like an episode of One Piece, and if there's no fighting in that episode, it's probably really limited animation, and then the fight scenes look great. You know, it's sort of similar with this where, you know, some of the animation during like just the school scenes can get kind of wonky at times, but then when it gets to the fight scenes look really good.
Well, no, it's
but at the
obvious that's
same
where the
time,
budget
though,
went.
there's still a level of quality you need to keep and maintain. I feel like that there are some serious quality controls animation-wise, and that's just because they are doing this aggressively at a week-by-week progress. I mean, obviously, they're not animating that all at once. It's not like, okay, guys, we got a week to do this. No, there's
Right.
hell
But
knows.
correct me
that's
if I'm
gonna
wrong.
work.
The software that they're using, this Poser software, it's not that expensive. Like, it's not a super advanced
It's
animation
still fairly
software.
expensive. It's $500 to buy the Pro Edition.
Right, but I'm sure like there are like whatever animation programs like real animation companies use are probably a lot more
I mean,
expensive.
I mean, Maya, you're gonna pay, you know, a few thousand for, but nothing like in between. I don't know. My point is, it's a version of animation software that's actually really good with character animation. So it's not like it's a bad thing to do. The major problem I think that they are using with this software is they probably got it on the cheap because, you know, you see the advertisement for it after every show. But the characters that they're using to animate it, the software, when you go to Poser's website, now they've got RWBY characters and whatnot. But when you look at the characters that software can handle, we're talking, you know, Pixar, like, we're talking very detailed, high detailed characters. And I want to say it's kind of the character rigs themselves, the style of the show, that you can't blame the way that the characters move on the software. It's you kind of got to blame how these characters are designed. I mean, and that's something you got to look at in anime in general. When they do 3D in anime and it's a 3D character, it doesn't look the best. And that's because anime is designed to look
Exaggerated. It's supposed to be.
That's actually
to
something I
the
did
extreme that
wanna-
you can't do in 3 dimensions when you're trying to make it realistic at the same time.
That's something I did want to point out. It did seem a little jarring when they were doing these
The chibi style stuff.
Well, not even the chibi style stuff, but they did like these cartoon movements, like zipping all over the place or something like that. And with the 3D models, those did look a little. It didn't pan out. I'm pretty sure as well as they wanted it to. You can't really have like the. It looked like they were trying to do squash and stretch and stuff like that at some point, but models just don't do that, so
And
it
that's
looks
the
very
difference
robotic.
between 3D and 2D. It's like, if Tristan, I know you've taken a 2D animation class
Yeah.
here, where when you're doing that, you know, it's very squash and stretch. With 3D, it's more of, I've got like a puppet and I am limited to what the puppet can do.
Right.
I mean, you could always Cheezel the Weasel it.
Oh God! No, not food fight, anything but that.
We're not going to
but-
talk about that. We're not
Clara
talking
is
about
still
that.
traumatized.
But
We don't talk
I
about
mean,
that.
not to say that we're
No.
completely bashing on the animation. I think if they spent more time, you know, if it was bi-weekly, I think that would be a lot easier. You can say every other Tuesday or whatever this comes out.
That would also honestly my biggest complaint with the animation. Now Matt's much more of an animation kind of guy, so he's much more into this sort of thing. My biggest problem though, and I don't know if anyone else cares as much as I do, it's a lot of the clipping problems, honestly. It doesn't bother a lot of people, but there's always something jarring to me when I'm watching something and someone like pretty much phases through someone else.
It doesn't bother me as much, but then that's also because I look at it's like, oh, it's PS2 walking. And
But to
I
me,
did kind of
it's-
notice clipping, like I forget what the
like
bullet's
I mentioned,
name was, but
like I mentioned, Good Witch is pretty much she is clipping the character. I'm gonna say this right now. They clearly haven't spent much time on her, and that's fine. As long as they continue to not use her that often, that's fine. It's when you start to see either the major characters starting to clip, or when you see something really, really obvious, like the bunny-eared girl, and when her ear started going through everyone.
Yeah.
That was really off-putting. And again, like Matt said, if it was on a bi-weekly thing, this would be obviously much less of an issue. But because it's a weekly thing, it's really jarring.
Rushed.
Yeah, I think I'm a little bit sympathetic to it because I actually I follow a lot of Rooster Teeth's other things, and I've listened to some of their podcasts. And Monty very rarely comes on the podcast because he's super busy, but occasionally he does, and he'll talk about his work schedule. This guy, from what I know about him, he's like a workaholic. Like he's crazy. Spends all nights working on this thing. And their animation team, I'm pretty sure, is 10 people or less. So it's a pretty small crew working on it.
No, I'm not attacking.
I guess the major thing is when I look at this, I go, this is a good college work. But then you have to realize this isn't a college work. I feel as much as Monty is pulling the strings, there's got to be a little more quality control because this isn't a comedy, so to say. It does have comedic elements, and this is Rooster Teeth's first time. So it's as much as I'm kind of nitpicking the animation a bit, I enjoyed RWBY. I really liked it.
Well, I think it would be interesting. I would be really interested to see what budget it has because you look at the animations, if you've seen any of them, the stuff they did in the later seasons of Red vs. Blue, it's really polished. It looks like a cutscene from one of the games.
But here's the thing: they're using pre-built character models and pre-built stuff that's been built already.
Well, they had to make the models look like the Halo 3 models.
I think if they want to up the animation quality, they might need to do some rebuilding of a few of the rigs. There was one...
John actually, in the last few weeks, in the past month, Monty posted on Facebook or whatever, oh, hey, look, we just fixed John's, we rebuilt his character rig, and he's dancing. I forget what song he's dancing, but they put him on that dance floor or whatever from one of the trailers, and they have him dancing to a song just to prove, how much more flexible he is. Because one thing I noticed with his legs in the show is his jeans were very stiff, and now they've got him dancing, so it's not stiff anymore.
With longer hair characters, they should probably do a little upping too, because there was a scene I noticed with Yang where she grabs the entirety of the back of her hair and kind of pulls it in front of her, kind of messing with her hair a bit, but her hair is one piece. It moves a little at the bottom, but her hair is currently one piece.
Hair is very tough to do.
I know it's tough to do,
Especially
but they
hair.
should probably divide that a little if they...
Honestly, I don't fault them for the hair because unless you have a Pixar level budget,
No,
you're not doing it.
it is
We're
unbelievable.
not having Brave over here.
This is the same thing. I don't blame when water animation isn't great. That's fine because water's really hard. When hair animation isn't great, that's fine because hair animation is super hard.
It's the main thing, and I think we can all agree that the show does very successful with its animation is when it gets to the fight scenes.
Right.
Definitely.
Oh, yeah. It's gorgeous.
As long as it's not a panoramic, as long as they don't do certain panoramic things, the fight scenes look fantastic. What I'm trying to say is, there was for the big fight scene that everyone remembers against the bird, against the bird and the scorpion. It's great except for one scene, and I couldn't believe it when I saw it because it was this is really great. This is really great. Oh.
Which part?
Yeah.
When they're all running towards them, and
they're-
it's clearly they're not moving. It's the
On
entire
the grass?
ground.
Is it the grass part?
The grass is just moving towards
It's
them.
right before they're fighting them, and they're running towards the weird structured area
Yeah,
that
that bridge
exists for
thing.
some reason. And there's a part where RWBY is literally in a walk animation, and they're dragging her across. It's in the corner of the screen, so you don't notice it. But if you too much. But if you are looking where's RWBY? Oh, here she is. And other than that, because it's kind of separate from the rest of the fight scene.
Yeah.
It's okay. I think when they bring out the second half of the first season,
we're going to see a much better quality.
not a huge jump, but we will see jumps. And with this being a very experimental animation, they gave probably a smaller budget than
Just to see.
Yeah, no.
it's kind of like Toonami.
I definitely think they had a pretty small budget, and from what I understand, RWBY has been very successful as far as being internet popular. Apparently, their YouTube page saw a 9% increase in views or subscribers or something like that after RWBY started coming out. So it's done
Colossal
very
Con
well
this
for
past
them.
summer we ran into a RWBY cosplayer. She was really cute, as RWBY.
That being said, though, it's great that they're popular, but I don't know how much money they're bringing in. Now, Matt and I had a discussion about this. Matt was talking about physical media sales. I'm reasonably convinced they're not making that much money off of physical media sales.
Rooster
I think it's
Teeth-
mostly advertising.
Yeah, I mean, Rooster Teeth's whole thing is like they have over 3 million subscribers on YouTube. They make all their money off advertising, pretty much.
Yeah, and that's the primary way. But like I was saying with the Blu-ray disc or whatever, as you mentioned that there's some clipping errors or whatever. There's actual animation errors on the disc.
The one I saw one specific scene from like episode 15 or something where like the online version actually didn't have the clipping issue, whereas the DVD one did because they got the DVD one done like a month before the online one
because
came
you have to,
out.
like I mentioned, when you send something to a DVD replicator or a Blu-ray replicator,
You need to give them time.
You have to give them an advance on when you give them the materials. And one thing that I kind of would really like to, know more from Rooster Teeth is, why did you do that? Because if you're trying to sell a DVD or Blu-ray that's imperfect, first of all, your Blu-ray and DVDs, that's really only going to like collectors of stuff, or I would really like to own this. Well, if it's an imperfect version, why do you want that? If the better version's online,
Yeah.
I don't know. That just doesn't make sense to me.
It is a little weird. I think that's part of like we were talking about like the 1 week or release once a week sort of thing, and like the DVD thing. I think that's just sort of how Rooster Teeth sort of operates, because all their content, their Achievement Hunter stuff, their Red vs. Blue stuff is always once a week. So they found that to be very successful for keeping people coming back. And I'm pretty sure with like Red vs. Blue, the DVDs and Blu-rays for that season will come out like right as the day like that the last episode of that season comes out
because what they
online.
do is they bulkly animate, in bulk animate a majority of that, meaning they're already working on the next section, and when it comes out, it's been done a little bit, but I have a feeling of what Monte or whoever is doing on it. They're cleaning it up. They're like, okay, this is technically done, but I want to clean it up a little more further, and that's perfectly fine. But I mean, regardless of how they have it done, seeing it cleaned up a little bit more as time goes on, if it gets a bigger budget.
Yeah, see, that's
And
what
maybe not even just a bigger budget, but more staff on it.
Yeah, that's what I personally hope. Like, with the success that RWBY has had, like I think one of the big steps for it, I think, was when it got on Crunchyroll. As far as like being compared to other anime-esque things, the fact that it's on Crunchyroll, the biggest site for legal streaming anime, that was kind of a cool thing. So I hope that RWBY, like the RWBY Volume 2, I guess it is, will have a bigger budget or bigger staff. I hope Rooster Teeth starts dedicating a bit more to it now that they know that they've got like a hit show on their hands.
And it'd be really interesting, I guess, to see from this, like from RWBY, to see if they do more action series and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, if
Jester.
All right. This is just something I wanted to put out there. But we've talked a lot about, the animation and a bit about the characters. I wanted to talk a little bit about the story first for a second.
okay,
Yeah.
Now, for the most part, I've been really enjoying it. Heroes in training, blah blah blah. We've heard the story before, but it's still an entertaining one to hear. That being said, I'm a little bit worried about where they're going with it. With the
faunus thing.
Again, the animal people at first was a little jarring to me, but whatever. It's been done before. It's not a big deal. What was jarring though was the fact that there was this horrible roar, and now there's a company who's just trying to take advantage of them, and all of this, they're just oppressed people, and we should feel bad for the villain group that came out of them because they're acting out of self-defense, and it's like, it's just too cliche at this point. I've heard this story so many times.
But the conclusion they came to was like, what's her name? Blake joined it when it was still sort of a non-violent thing, and then they became violent, and she left the group, and now they've just sort of become corrupt.
Yeah, they've clearly become a criminal organization. The problem is though, is when it was first starting to be introduced, it was sort of kind of the traditional we're the oppressed group.
Yeah,
sort of
I will
deal.
definitely say with the overall story of RWBY, a lot of it does fall into cliche, but they do like little things to make it, its own unique thing. Like I think, obviously the whole magical school isn't anything new, but the stuff that they do with the characters, and the weapons and all of that brings a level of uniqueness to it.
I would argue pretty much only the weapons and the fight scenes, because as I do like the characters, you've seen these tropes before: the ditzy girl, the big character type, the quiet one, the tsundere.
Yeah.
You've seen these characters before. You're not really getting anything different, as enjoyable as they are to watch.
Yeah, I do think because this is, I mean, what we have here is basically 2 hours worth of a story, that's supposed to be half of a season of something that's going to be pretty long by the sounds of it. So I feel like, they're working with the cliche, they're building from the cliche, to introduce them to you. So like you immediately know, okay, this is sort of what the character's going to be, you know what to expect. And they're going to build on those and make them more unique, I will agree, they're not totally there yet as of episode 16, but I think they will get there.
I'll give them time. I mean, nothing about this I hated. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah.
This is just something I noticed. But for them going to a school to learn how to fight monsters, there hasn't been that much monster fighting in the show.
This is true.
Yeah.
It's a little. Don't get me wrong. I'm not necessarily saying that the show's been bad or anything, but I'd like to see a little more beating up on bad guys without there being any sort of moral repercussion. Because I don't know. I'm from an older train of thought where it's like sometimes I just like to see a bad guy just to get the crap kicked out of him, and we
Yes.
don't have to hear their path. We don't have to hear about how their pathos led them to this path of villainy, and we have to feel sympathy for them.
They're just a
Sometimes-
villain.
just
Yeah,
bad.
sometimes I just want a clearly just, oh God, I'm so evil, wahaha
I think
sort
that's
of guy.
why you sort of like Vatu in Korra Book 2. He's just pure evil.
Yeah,
That's all
he's
there
pure.
is.
He's pure evil. I knew that the
After
second
1,000 years, I can be evil again.
time to conquer Earth. But
Dubstep cannon.
Yeah,
Whoa.
yeah. As soon as the dubstep, again, this is completely off topic. But as soon as I knew he was pure evil when he used the dubstep cannon, and not only one, but no one could withstand beats of that magnitude.
I think the best part was when he was, well, spoilers for Korra Book 2. When he's fighting Giant Korra, he's like, you're looking for something that isn't here, Korra, Rava. And then he just blasts it over her.
He dropped the bass all over.
Yes. Yeah, talking about the story, I thought I've liked the development they've done. Like I said, I am disappointed, of the 4 main RWBY characters, Yang has gotten the least development, and she's one of the ones I'm the most interested in just because of her powers and her personality. So I want to see them expand on her more in Volume 2.
I think so far though this is just something about Yang, and honestly about the whole RWBY cast. What was God, I can't think of the robot girl's name off the top. Of my head.
Penny?
Penny.
I
Yes.
love
Yes.
her. Oh my god.
The funniest scene I think in the whole series so far was something I said near the beginning about Blake's bow, and I bet you it's hiding cat ears. And then Penny immediately says, "Yeah, the Flana girl." And then they all look at her like, "What are you talking about?" Yeah, but the cat ears. And they all go, "The bow."
She wears a bow.
It's like okay, so we've all established. So at first I was like, maybe this is just something that nobody notices in the series. It's like no, the main cast is
Just dumb.
yeah, they're just dumb.
I actually want to learn, even though that the main cast didn't get mega amounts of screen time, they did have a John arc. I want to learn more about the other teams too. I want to be connected to these characters that they put in there for a reason.
Yeah.
Well,
Especially like Nora, I want to learn about her and
I want to
Len's
know why she has
relationship.
heart powers.
I love her so much. And
Heart
they're-
grenade launcher.
I am-
Heart hammer.
The only thing I'm worried about with her is if we find out the reason she's always acting so upbeat is because she has some super dark and traumatic past, I'm just gonna roll my eyes.
I feel like that's not gonna be her character. I think it just might be like
she's
has
just
all the-
happy because she's happy.
Yeah, and she sees Len and they've known each other for a while and they've just always been friends. That's what I feel like because it seems like that he's been around her long enough to be like, this is just Nora shenanigans.
Yeah, no, and that would be great. That's what I want to see. I don't need a character. Don't get me wrong. It's not that I don't like seeing these characters, but sometimes a character doesn't have to have some really deep reason for why they're
Right.
the way they are. Maybe they just are that way.
Right,
Right.
which is why I feel like that's just Len's personality and Pyrrha, she's just very serious. That's she's very strong. She knows it, but she's not overconfident. She's smart because she's studied, and she cares about others, shown in her protecting John.
That may be the appeal of the second team, though, is that you can kind of tell the RWBY cast has their demons.
Yeah.
Off the bat, you can tell they have their hidden demons. But you look at these guys, and their problem is less.
it's
that
less
they have-
obvious right now.
Well, not as
John
obvious.
is the only one who really has the problem.
But his problem's actually an interesting one.
It was because he's
Right.
not supposed to be here.
And that's
Yeah.
why his arc was really one of the most
this
One
interesting,
of
I would
these
say.
is not like the other.
No, and again, this is why I said.
But he's also so kind of competent.
Jean was even before then. Jean was. It's always like there's something a little bit off about him, and that kind of piqued my curiosity.
Because
and when
he
they
was
revealed that, it's
so
like, wow,
different.
he's easily the most interesting character in the show now.
He was so plain. He didn't have super mega awesome powers. Like, oh, what's that? It's like it's a sword. And it's like,
What about that one? It's a
It's a
shield.
shield.
Yeah.
It's a sword. and
Well,
shield.
I like-
You didn't
Does
make
it
this
shoot
yourself?
anything?
I like that, when, and I think it was in episode 4, when they're all standing on those platforms about to be launched into the forest, he's the only one questioning, like, wait, why are we doing this? Like, how are we supposed to land? Isn't this a little bit crazy? He's
And
like
they're
the
like,
only
"No."
one who,
You are in the wrong series, Spring.
pretty much.
Everyone was saying how God, what's his name? Lang, is that his name?
Yang?
Yang, that's it. Everyone was saying how he was the straight man. No, Jean's the straight man.
No, you
Oh.
mean Len?
Len.
Yeah,
Can,
sorry.
can we agree on what his name is?
Len.
Yeah, it's Lei Ren. That's what it
Ren?
says
Ren?
here.
Oh.
Lieren.
Ren.
That's his
I
name.
apologize.
Ren.
I
Got
have
it.
watched the series, but they
Well,
say
see-
his name so infrequently
Yeah.
that I.
Like, I'm just used to, like, Len and Ren being the same thing because Japanese sounds, so I always get confused.
oh, that was.
Well,
Moving
it's also
beyond that.
comparatively to his teammates, he doesn't say as much.
No,
Oh,
he
yeah.
doesn't.
He's
And
actually
I'll give,
voiced
I'll give
by,
Monty credit where credit is
Monty.
due. He has not created a self-insert character with him, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, I will say something when I was rewatching episode 8. Something that sort of struck me as a little bit funny. It was right before they go have the big battle at that stone place. RWBY has like made up with Weiss and is like running off with a group, and Yang is like looking on, like smiling. And you see RWBY, she just stops and poses on this rock, and like wind billows up, and her cape goes everywhere. So it's the obvious like heroic pose, and it's like, you could have just kept walking, but you specifically stopped so you could stand there and look awesome. Like, I know what you're up to. Don't hide it from me.
I think it was just pretty much theatrical. I mean, she probably climbed there for a reason, but it was
I know.
completely to be.
And I also loved in that episode, one of my favorite parts is where Nora got like sent flying up in the air, and she just does this little thing where she's like smiling up at the camera before
She's
she
riding
comes
her
down.
hammer,
and-
has a broomstick.
yeah, before she
I
comes down
love
and
it
slams
so
the
I kinda
much.
like
scorpion.
She's
that
got
too.
one of my favorite weapons besides
Have
Penny's
they
weapon.
revealed-
Penny is so OP. All right, no,
Yeah, she
I
is.
I loved her from the second she showed up. I'm like, you're
not-
special.
There's one of two things. I'm still not sure. Either it's magnetism and machine got to explain anything, or there's wires. I couldn't.
There were
figure out.
wires.
I'm pretty
They
sure
showed
that there
that.
are wires.
It's only a halfway good explanation because she was still levitating the swords, and I don't know if you guys have ever worked with wires before, but they
tangle.
Not even that.
I feel it
they
might
don't
just-
float. They don't
She
defy.
is
But
a
the fact that
robot.
it did come out of her back, there might be some because Pyrrha can use magnetism stuff.
I don't know. When I watched that, I just said, "Wow." So you've just said that Kira's the most powerful person in the show because
And
she's
it's-
able to alter. She's
the
literally
fact
able
the
to alter one of
headmaster-
the four fundamental forces of the universe.
Right, and then the headmaster was one who took her away, so he knows what's up, and she wasn't supposed to be out.
What you mean with Penny? Was it the headmaster? I thought it was someone else.
I'm pretty sure, because he was in
didn't
a
see
car,
anyone.
and she was in a car, and we heard his voice.
We heard a voice. I don't know if it
I
was
thought
his
it was
voice.
his voice. It was so similar. That's what, instantly,
It
I
might
thought,
be.
oh, headmaster. The fact was like, you shouldn't be out, just on the streets. She's like, I know.
Yeah.
I have a question. She's from a different school, right?
we don't.
She's probably from the secret robotics factory
Well,
underneath the school.
I actually think that might be right because she kept saying, "I'm combat ready." So it's like if she is like a cyborg, then maybe she was
She's all
constructed
precious.
because she's apparently there for this tournament thing that I think is probably going to happen in volume
Yeah.
2.
What's the tournament thing again?
A bunch of people are coming from a bunch of different schools to compete in this tournament.
The monkey kid's
so
really
Penny
cute.
Tournament
confirmed
arts,
to be
my
Tournament art.
favorite.
So Penny confirmed to be the character who dies horribly because she's a robot and they can show her dying horribly.
It's okay. They can fix her.
Hey,
we have
I
the
can
technology.
fix it.
It's
Quotes of Wreck-It Ralph.
Alex.
Make her up
With-
is so good.
With the
course it is.
yes, it is. But with the idea of doing a tournament,
Tournament. arc.
Terminant.
Shut up.
Tournament.
See that computer? Let's just bash your head with it.
Okay,
But,
fine.
my point is, I think that'll do the series a little justice. The fact that it does excel in doing its tournament, doing fight sequences. If it's going to a second part that's highly focused on that,
Yeah, I did see someone making a
know.
point like that. What was so cool about the RWBY trailer was like she is fighting like this whole army of those wolf creatures. And like,
Beowulfs.
I see what they did there.
Beowulf. That was a funny story about that. When they were talking about Beowulfs, I was going, "Wow, they're really clever." That's what the names of the bears are because Beowulf is bear. And then someone pointed out, no, the bears are Ursas, and then Beowulfs are actually the wolves. I'm like, oh.
I missed the opportunity
No,
there.
they're about 50% right. That's not quite as cool.
But a lot of Monty's big fight scenes involve like one person fighting an army of people, you know, and we haven't quite gotten that yet in the main show. So I'm hoping we get that eventually.
Well, that's because most of the people in this world are silhouettes.
yeah,
Silhouette people.
I understand why they do that because even
No, I
legitimate
get
anime do that sometimes. Even though even then I think it's lazy, but it's an indie animation. I
But
understand.
at the same time, like I like it because then it's like you don't have to focus on them at all. You don't have
Yeah.
to waste time on them.
I've
Like,
seen
they're
it done in
obviously
manga
not
plenty
important.
of time, and I
No
like
one
it. It's
cares
my
about
style.
them.
There was one scene I found pretty funny where
That's rough. No one cares about them.
They don't. They don't exist.
You're normies. How dare you be normal in my show
Filthy
about
casuals.
special
Just-
people?
Is it bad though that every time Jean shows up, I just imagine him just immediately turning into a silhouette. It's still it was like, Jean, where'd you go?
Stealth mode activated.
Come back, John. Come back.
But like even like you can tell who are the characters that are important. They're the ones who are in color. They're the ones who are fully animated. The ones that are not silhouettes, and they're the ones you're supposed to focus on.
There was a few scenes though, mostly the classroom ones,
Mm-hmm.
where there was someone sitting completely by themselves who was important, and you can tell because they had colors.
right.
I think they probably could have moved them down.
Like
a
the
few
bully
seats.
kid. What's his name?
Yeah.
Oh, Cardin,
Yeah, that little
that guy,
Yeah.
that
the bully.
explicit.
guy.
Yeah.
I don't like. He
I'm-
was. Ugh.
You're not supposed to like him.
You're not supposed to like him, but
it's
this
okay though
bullying
because
plot.
I'm pretty sure that Sauron is still looking for his mace, and when he realized that he stole it, he's gonna be real pissed.
That's a good point. Does his mace do anything else? Have we seen its
It
gun
looks
function?
like it shoots a laser. Honestly,
I'm
the
pretty
top of the
certain
mace
that-
is completely open, and there's a gem in the center.
That's
of it.
true.
I'm gonna guess though, but if he also had the one ring, it would give him the power to crush armies single-handedly. But you know,
He's gonna be like Sauron, just hitting people away with big shockwaves.
oh yeah, that's what I'm imagining.
As much I like John's arc, but this bullying plot, I wasn't too much of a fan
Okay.
of.
It
Bullying
was
is
threatening
wrong.
once he figured out John's secret. Then I was like, "Ooh, you're
Yeah.
not just a bully. You are definitely out for him.
Yeah, you're just an asshole.
And you're just the worst."
I know. It was just
Yeah.
it was a little cliche, but it paid off nicely where John stood up to him. And I
You're
remember
like,
I
"You're
was
badass."
watching that episode with Mark because he also was following RWBY, and we watched it like in his room when that episode came out, and we were both like, "Oh my god, that was so awesome!" When John cut the head off the bear, I was like, "Oh, that was amazing." You know, and that's where Piera used her magnetism powers, which I guess she has to move his
Mm-hmm. That's why
arm
I
up
like
to block
her.
the
Also,
shield.
she's like, she doesn't display. She's like, "Hey guys, look, I've got these powers." It's like, use them when I need to,
right.
and
I've
that's
also
all.
got a spear gun.
Which I guess, I forget the word they used. It was something with an S, because apparently all of them have something like that. Like she said, Weiss's was her glyphs, Ruby's was like her super speed.
Specialization or something.
It had a fancier word than that. I forget it.
What was,
but,
I still haven't figured out what Yang's is.
I
Isn't
swear
that
to
her,
God,
like,
if
Super
if
Saiyan
it's,
mode?
I swear
Might
to God,
be.
if it's that I swear we find out she's from the planet Namek. I'm gonna be
No,
not
Planet
Namek,
Vegeta.
I think what
Gosh.
You mean
I think
Frieza
what
Day?
I think what Blake's is like because when she was fighting the
She can like.
She's from
She's
Kitty
very
Cat
ninja.
Land.
Like.
yeah, she's sort of got like a shadow
Kitty Cat.
clone thing going
that's
on.
what
when she
I'm
was
pretty sure what her
fighting.
power is that she has night vision.
Well, that too, since she's a
That'd
faunus.
be
Well,
neat.
all faunas
Yeah.
have night vision. That's
So,
how they won
wait,
that one
so
war.
are all faunas just animal people? Do
a
you still consider them
blue
one race, or is there different
fly
factions of
away,
animals?
I
It's
feel
from
like it's
what they've
all
been
right.
showing so far. They're all considered one race.
Seems that way.
Well, that's even greater fantastic racism because she was clearly a bunny and Blake is clearly a cat.
Yeah, I will.
You
s-
racist humans.
I will
They're
say.
all animals, though. Fauna, animal.
I will say
Yeah,
like
I know, but don't you think that kind of supports their argument?
I will say with the whole thing you brought up with Penny, like I probably should have figured out like when she was so freaked out about like the whole faunus thing and the white fang, I was sort of like, okay, she's probably a faunus, you know, but I hadn't clued in
Right.
with the ribbon before that arc started.
Dude, I think I'm pretty sure that at least one or two scenes before then, the bow was moving on its own more than once.
it was the wind.
no, there was clearly no wind.
Well,
in
I
that
had
scene.
seen fan art of someone calling Blake a kitty cat before, like these past two episodes, and I was like, I can see her being a black cat, and then she has ears, so I'm like, oh.
She is a black.
that
Did they
brings up
come with
another-
the tails? I
this
never saw a
is-
tail.
This is one.
don't
This
think
is
she
one
has
thing
one.
though that Matt and I noticed, and I hate to go back to ragging on the animation, but there was that scene when they first introduced Penny, and they're all trying to say, "Ooh, she moves around weird." And there's something unnatural about the way
Oh,
she
yeah,
moves.
this is like-
that scene. The animation for all the other characters in that scene, it was jankier than she was.
It's like
You must
they're
all
trying
be
to make her
robots.
look, like I'm janky, I am robot. but it's like you know you're not all greatly animated too. So what you're trying to do here, it doesn't work.
The monkey kid was cool.
I really
As long as he never goes into a run
I don't know if you guys
animation
caught
ever
this, but his
again.
name is
Yes, no run
Sun.
animation for him.
yes.
Yeah, it was a
Son
little, It was a
Goku.
little funky.
And then he slides upstairs.
Apparently
Yeah.
his name is Sun Wukong.
Because
apparently
that's
his
public
official-
domain.
Yeah, but what I thought was awesome was when he
Okay.
started fighting. Thought that was so awesome. Where it starts as a pole arm, then it's nunchucks, then it's gunchucks, basically. And I was like, okay, that's pretty
Gunchucks.
awesome. I'll give you credit where credit
Yes,
is due.
kitty pie.
Jeremy doesn't like the gunchucks.
Well, I mean, monkey characters in general are normally very mischievous, and it just fit with him.
Yeah, well, and it was odd for me sometimes when I hear some of the voices because like the one crazy coffee professor is Joel who plays Caboose in Red vs. Blue, and monkey guy is Michael from Rage Quit. Like I hear the voices because I like listen to the podcast, I listen to their stuff, so sometimes I can't
And the
unhear
two
their
policemen
voice.
were
Bernie and Joel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
You know-
also Brooklyn.
Yes, they're definitely channeling the New York accents there. So, I don't know. Anything else we want to talk about the characters? I think we sort of went over Juniper and Ruby. I will say with Blake, I really sort of didn't like her at first because she was like just this sort of, the quiet character, sort of
little
that cliche.
standoffish,
Well, the
Yeah,
pro- the
didn't have
problem
much
with the-
personality. But then when they got to the faunus stuff, it's like, okay, she's sort of like this activist. She's intelligent.
Well, that was a problem shared, but it was kind of at some point in the series, I legitimately forgot that Yang and Blake were there because they just focused that little on them.
I don't know.
I
In the
feel like
force,
that'll happen later because they don't.
It'll probably happen later, but I still think they probably could have touched on their four main characters being in the title a little first.
Well, they're not half. They're only like halfway done with the first part.
and what's interesting?
I know, it's just
What's interesting
I
is
just feel they could have done a little.
when I saw this interview with the two writers, they talked about how they sort of have this quote unquote problem where they write side characters and then start to love the side characters so much that they want to do more with them. So that's why they sort of said it's more of I think they think of RWBY as like an ensemble cast. So I think they sort of think of Ruby and Juniper as like they are all the main characters. Even the Ruby
Season
is
2, Juniper.
is probably more important, I feel like they definitely focused on Juniper quite a bit. And because of that, you don't get as much development with, Blake and Yang as we might like. But I think since it is early, they are going to get to that.
I don't doubt it.
But
I just
like-
think they could have.
Like I said
faced it
before,
different.
this is not Yang's first year here. She's been at this school for at least 1 year. She's had time training. She's confident in her abilities. She's
When did they
confident
mention that?
overall.
Yeah, but it's
Well,
going to
she
be...
has friends there already.
Well, I thought that was just generally she had.
Well, I mean, like,
I don't know. I don't
not
remember
everyone
them saying
gets
she was
in
there
here.
a year again.
I'm assuming because she knows people, she knows the place.
Well, you know what they say about assuming.
Make an ass out of you and me. Ba-da-ba.
I'm just saying that she's
I
not
think she's a
unconfident.
second-
she
yeah.
knows what she's doing,
I
and
feel like she's a
therefore she.
second year
Second
student,
year
'cause
makes
that
sense. I
doesn't-
just
that
don't
doesn't mean she
remember
doesn't need
anyone
character
mentioning that.
development.
Right, I'm just saying, but like the problems that everyone else has is they're new. They're still like fitting in with people. Yang has no problem fitting in with people. She's confident in her abilities. She's got her. She was putting on aviators
all
and flying through the
freshies.
sky. She had no cares in the
That's true.
world.
I don't...
And even when the scorpion shows up, she's like, "Let's fight it."
But I
So-
feel like because she seems so confident, I feel like there's got to be something that
Well,
she's
of course,
hiding.
There's going to be something because there's going to be some type of.
suicidal. Oh, let's
There
hope
are
not.
insecurities with
Suicidal
everyone.
shock.
I'm just saying
Yeah.
the fact that she probably hasn't had chance to have character development because there hasn't been a reason to just yet. There has been some backstory coming in. She is there for Ruby to try and make friends, but she's also doing her own thing.
Yeah, I will say just a cute little thing I noticed in one of the episodes was like where I think it was where Ruby got saved by Weiss from the scorpion in the forest. Yang comes up and hugs her, and she makes just like this little like meh noise like when she hugs her. And I was like, oh,
Well,
just
she
the-
and she also likes her sister, so if there's any tension between that, there'd probably be something else. But she loves Ruby. She
Right.
cares about Ruby.
yeah. What did you guys think of our villains? The one guy with the cane is named Torchwick, and he was
I'm gonna be minority here. I like him.
I don't
I like him as a villain, but now that there are more powerful villains, I'm like,
Yeah.
he's like the Jack Splicer now. I instantly thought of Jack Splicer.
See, that's the thing. I thought because the fire chick showed up in episode 1, and she was like working with him. I thought she was his like underling, but it seems like
Right.
he's her underling.
Yeah.
That's actually kind of interesting.
Right now I like him as a villain because he's he's suave, but at the same time, he's that sort of suave. It's like I kind of want to punch you in the face.
Yeah,
And he's
but I
also-
like about that about him.
And
It's
he
that,
can fight. He dealt with Blake, Ruby, and Wukong.
so he's not a complete wuss.
He's not.
I do like
he can
this
fight.
line from him. These kids just keep getting weirder.
I did like that. You know,
I mean, even when you get down to it, his weapon, compared to everyone else's, is a lot simpler. It's a cane that's also a flamethrower.
Which actually
and a gun.
It's also a gun, which is a thing in real life.
Right.
Congratulations, we've met the one character who has a real weapon.
Well, I remember in the in Yang's trailer, there was like one of his underlings had a baseball bat that was also like a rocket
Oh,
launcher.
I love that thing. I wanted to bring up favorite weapons. I think rocket launcher bat might be one of my favorites.
I'm gonna go with scythe rifle. That's still my
Everybody's
favorite.
gonna like the scythe rifle.
It's
I
awesome.
like Yang's gauntlets.
I
It's
don't-
very useful.
Yang Gauntlet. Yeah.
I don't.
Yang
I
gauntlets, yeah.
honestly, I've said this once and I'll say it again. I don't like the scythe rifle. Then again, I don't like scythes as a weapon because okay, yes, it's been established that this is a very intimidating weapon. Blah 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 blah. Here's my problem: it's a farming implement. People use this to cut wheat.
Well, now they use them to cut lives.
Do you know why? Do you know why the Grim Reaper has one? I'll tell you why
Because
he
he
has one.
harvests souls.
Yeah,
He's a
he-
farmer.
Yes. Congratulations.
I don't know,
Congratulations. You're emulating people of the soil. You're not a warrior.
My problem, it's either her gauntlet thingies
Yeah.
that she punches, or I really like Weiss's. Just
Oh, yeah,
because
I
she
like
can, it can
Weiss's.
it's like the color changing.
I know.
What did the color changing do? The
That
show
gives her
was-
different abilities.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
different.
Okay, the show
dust.
itself didn't really showcase her rapier thing.
In
very
the,
much.
In
the
the
trailer, though,
In
it
the
shows she
trailer.
can do ice.
Yeah,
Fire.
I think
Fire.
the idea
She
is
can move real
that
fast.
those are like different
I want
chambers
to
of
go fast.
dust inside her sword there that she's
Right.
like using for magic.
So she clearly has just the most expensive weapon.
Oh yeah, of course.
Probably.
It's a
Naturally.
Yet
rapier.
to see
Come
anyone
on.
do this
It's a
dust,
little
but
rapier.
And I also really like I said, mentioned earlier, Monkey Guy's gunchucks, I think, are pretty awesome. I want to
do
see
like the
more with him.
gunchucks.
Gunchucks.
You know.
Okay,
He
probably my favorite thing though is that when Yang was nagging at Weiss about her outfit, it's like it's a combat skirt, and then she and Ruby just high five.
I
It's
love
still a
that
terrible
moment.
decision to wear
It
a dress.
is, but I liked their reactions.
It showed
I'm
like
just,
that they were.
I'm just waiting for someone to just, not aim for them. They're just gonna pin them to the ground because by the hem of their dress.
Well,
Which
we already
Ruby did
had
with the
Ruby
cloak.
getting pinned to the ground with her
Or the
giant
cape.
ass cape.
Yeah. Incredible showed us that capes are not practical for
No capes.
superheroes.
No capes.
But I agree with
We
you,
learned
Clara.
that this
I really
time.
like that moment just because it was like, oh, they're friends now.
They
They're enemies,
bonded.
but now they're friends. Yeah.
There
Yeah.
has been. I love their room, by the way.
Oh,
I
yeah.
wish I had a bed that hung from the ceiling. You have no idea.
That was
Really?
That's a terrible.
Hey, no, but it's like a boat. You could go tee to ta.
And the person below you.
Who is the
below
one?
you
Who's the one
dies.
who sleeps in the suspended bed?
I think it's
think
Ruby.
Ruby.
That is Ruby.
It's
Because
Ruby.
Ruby.
'cause she does the
Okay.
coffee scene when Weiss like, what kind of coffee you like?
Yeah.
And she just like pops up.
Also, something I noticed, it has not been explained at all, it's just in the background, but apparently the moon is like sort of destroyed.
Oh yeah, that's
Oh,
there.
yeah.
Like,
kinda
what's up
pretty.
with that? Because that's like a big deal if the moon is just broken into pieces.
I'm sure it'll never truly be explained.
Because when the moon is blown up, it just comes back together.
Of course.
Well, you know
Not
what?
an anime, but
We're not.
More in Dragon Ball Z.
well,
That's magic.
they wish it back,
Yeah,
actually.
but it doesn't do it on its own.
Oh,
We'll cover that later.
All right. So I guess we can get to overall thoughts on RWBY. Personally, for myself, like, comparing it to like other anime, like professional Japanese anime, obviously the animation, the story, and voice acting, all of it is not nearly up to the same quality that you would expect from one of those. But you have to go into understanding that it's an independent, first-time animated web series thing from Rooster Teeth. So when you go into it with that context, it's got some flaws. Some of the voice acting isn't always up to par, and some of the animation is a little wonky at times. But for what it is, I really enjoy it. The fight scenes are awesome. The characters are surprisingly likable, and I'm really interested to see what they do with this world and how they expand it in the future seasons.
I can't wait for merchandise. Lots and lots of merchandise.
Well, they already have lots of shirts and stuff.
I know, but I want more.
You want like a scythe
I
scythe
want
rifle?
things to appear at cons where I actually go and shop for things.
Tristan wants the figs.
I want figures and plushies.
My
But, like,
figurine.
I sometimes I see hats and stuff on Tumblr. People are like, I am gonna have a giveaway. We blog for things, and I never win. But I mean, no. The one time I ever
You're not
won
allowed to
something
win.
was a shiny Pokemon, and I sent them everything. They were like, never mind, and I was like, all right.
What? They didn't give it to you?
They
You
never
got-
responded back
you
to
got
me.
gypped, bro.
I did. I mean, it was free, and I just reblogged a post. So I mean, I just got my hopes up.
I did a lot of effort to win this. Come
I
on,
pressed
man.
Alt and clicked. I
mean,
didn't
it's
just
primarily
reblog.
just to get people to
dare
follow your
you.
blog.
Probably.
Well, now
I mean, it was someone who I was
get
already
an
following, so now I'm
unfollow.
just like, well, but they have other things, but I'm like,
But
I
no,
really don't
yeah.
care.
I guess
want
my
more merch.
idea of the show is it has its flaws. It's got its really good ideas. Let's see.
I want to see what it does
I'm gonna
now.
ride the RWBY train.
Whoop, whoop.
It's
The RWBY train.
the RWBY train. Let's all hop onto RWBY train because it's janky right now, but as it goes on, same with Red versus Blue, which had lots of improvements as
It's
it
like the
continued
mean
going.
streak.
Oh,
I think it'll keep getting improved.
It'd be like my
Improved-ness.
Koleokos.
It'll keep getting improvedness, and I will enjoy watching it
There
as
you
it
go.
continues.
Yeah.
Oh
to
my
get
God, Matt, there was
improvedals.
someone in the library watching Code Lyoko today, and I squealed.
Oh yeah! Jesus Christ, man.
You just shot out everybody's.
Oh man, I might have to
Years.
try to edit that down.
Well, folks, that's all for today because we've all lost our hearing.
Yeah.
hey,
Sorry, I thought of you, and
you
that
guys.
just reminded me.
You
I
know my
didn't-
magical word, and that is a CODELYOKO.
I'm so sorry. I didn't intend to have that reaction.
You guys aren't the ones wearing headphones over here.
Sorry,
I'm the
Alex.
one suffering.
Yeah.
All right, everyone, let's scream right now. We have to deafen Alex.
Shut up. Jeremy, what are your overall thoughts?
Well, my overall thoughts right at this moment are is I hate you, Matt. But about the show, overall, very enjoyable. I hope that it continues to improve. There's a couple things that I wish they would fix. Again, the clipping. Something else I didn't mention, but it's a little thing. Just I wish they had noses, but
Oh,
Anime
when she's
characters with
picking her nose,
noses.
and it's just like, let me do it on my
Oh yeah,
front
that
nose.
was another strange scene to try.
But,
to show her
moving
picking
on.
her nose.
But moving on, it's not a big deal. It's just little things I would like to see improved. Overall, I feel like it's got a lot of potential, and it could become very good, or it could become total crap. But I'm hoping that
I'm
it becomes
hoping they
good,
don't
and I'll-
sell out.
Oh no, I think
I don't. You know what? You know what?
me
If
my
it brings in a
figures,
lot
then
of
stop
money and they can really
merchandising.
improve on the animation, sell out.
Okay.
Fine.
yeah.
Sell out.
As long as they
Bring me a
don't
new
let
series.
it
I
break.
think the biggest thing going forward is that it's something that these, Monty Ohm and like Carrie and Miles, this is just something that they had the idea of and they got the money to do it, a small budget, but they're like, all right, let's do this. This is something we're passionate about. And you can tell like they really love this series
Yeah,
and
And
this
again,
world.
I'd like to see Rooster Teeth, maybe if this becomes successful enough, try to, a way to, make the company bigger and hire more animators and
Like me,
go-
I'm available,
go
Rooster
this,
Teeth.
What about this
Mm.
comedy action route? Try to make yourself. I mean, obviously they're not really a studio, like they are, for what they do, but not for like productions. I don't know. It'd be interesting.
That would be interesting.
Stepping back a bit, but one thing I would definitely like to see improved in future episodes, I am missing the sceneries from the trailers.
Yeah, I will say like with the RWBY trailer, one of the things I thought was so cool about that was like the rose petals, and
Yeah.
that snowy landscape, like
I think a little lighting would help here because I feel like the background's pretty
gradients.
flat.
We need more gradients.
Bring me gradients.
Okay. Before we sign off here for today, I thought we should talk about what anime we should watch for next time, because next time for us is going to be in January because we have winter break coming up here. As Clara said, we've got finals week next week, so this is going to be our last podcast of the
Sobbing.
semester. So I found a couple online, that we might talk about. One being
Clannad.
well, Claude, baby. I don't know. You and me would definitely like to talk about it. I don't know about the rest of the crew here.
The loneliest podcast.
That would be
No,
two.
There will be
Two can be as bad as one. Loneliest number is number one now.
We sort of walked into that
Clap,
one,
clap,
didn't we?
clap.
One I was thinking about that we've obviously talked about a lot but never done is Death Note. Since we'll have a month over break, that's like a 37 episode series. So for those
That's
who had
just stepping back quite a bit, though.
what do you mean stepping back?
Well, not stepping back, but that's
Going back
everybody's
in time.
talked about Death Note by this point.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
it
a-
doesn't matter. We've done podcasts on like the Cowboy Bebop movie that's been out for ages. We did Castle of Cagliostro that was been out for
I
like
saw that
40
over the
years.
summer, and I loved it.
Yeah, Castle of Cagliostro is great.
if
I
you
can't
wa-
say it, though.
If you watch Excel World over the break, I would be more than happy to come
Yeah,
on.
I
to
thought about
one.
that. Some I listed down here are Death Note, Tiger and Bunny, Excel World, Shakugan no Shana, Black Lagoon, Ouran High School Host Club, Tatami Galaxy, Spice and Wolf, Kino's Journey, Eden of the East, Last Exile. So these are all ones I've heard about that are good.
Pokemon
I think
Talked
it's
about that one.
showtime.
What do you mean Showtime?
Big O.
Big O,
Shigofumi.
Big O, Big O.
How many episodes is Big O?
Shigofumi, it's short.
26.
26. Okay, that's a possibility.
Or-
I've never seen Big O.
Or if I am in the mood for giant robots again. Or just, I'm in the mood for giant robots
Let's
again.
watch
Do you want to watch
Bobobo.
some Get a Robo?
Bobobo isn't on
Yes,
Hulu.
Bobobo.
I've been pushing for Bobobo since.
Oh,
since
you
this
have no
podcast.
idea how much I want to
I've been
rewatch
pushing
that.
for
I love
Bobobo.
it.
Ask Alex. I've been pushing, I think, since the first or second episode for Bobobo?
It's been a long time. I'll admit that. See, the problem is
I tried to watch it on YouTube for like the first 15 episodes. I was like, why did I ever like this? I can't stop watching, but this hurts me.
We could go to less scrupulous methods, I guess, to watch it because I don't think there is any legal way to watch it.
No, not really. There's no Blu-ray. The best you got is a DVD, and they botched that DVD release up a lot.
Did
Huh.
they?
We'll
So,
figure out something.
I don't know.
Wait,
Yeah, we got
whatever.
Bobobo. I mean,
And Alex is not condoning piracy, and we do not commit piracy on this show.
Yes,
Please
we do.
ignore.
Yes, we do.
Please ignore the man behind the curtain.
Yes, we do.
Well, in
Yeah.
Bobobo's case, you can find the entire thing on YouTube.
oh, sure. And I know I've seen, and Mark definitely has seen all of Oron High School Host Club. You've seen all of Oron, right, Matt?
Yes, I have.
You know, that might be a fun one to
I
talk
have
about.
fought that forever.
You fought it?
Well, like when I first got into anime, it was one of those like that and Fruits Basket that everyone got into. So I was like, I'm never gonna watch that because I'm a hipster with my anime. So
hipster.
You would like Oron.
I'm obnoxious, but anyways, that's besides the point.
Besides the point. All right. Well, I guess we'll talk about it afterwards. We'll come up with something. We'll have a nice podcast for you when we come back in
Yes.
January. So
Manuary.
if you've enjoyed this podcast, you can email us at techheads@avwproductions.com. You can follow us on Twitter at techheadsou, like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on iTunes. You know, give us some good ratings and reviews. Constructive criticism is always appreciated. AVW Media on iTunes. Where techheads.me is our blog. You know, we do all sorts of cool stuff there. And I want to thank you all out there for listening to this episode. I want to thank you guys for co-hosting with me. This has been a fun discussion we've had here today.
Wink.
And we hope you guys all have a happy holidays and a Merry Christmas. And we will see you in January when we come back for the second semester of Shredded Cels.
Spooky boogie.
This product is copyright AVW Productions 2000.